place on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. This is Troublesome Times. Unscripted, unedited, all done in one take. Because it's so easy, right? Since everyone else has a podcast, I might as well have one too. And of course, for this monthly podcast, it seems like it is gonna be the 4th of July. I don't know when you guys are gonna listen to this. Maybe you're out there having hot dogs, which are like the best time to have hot dogs. No lie. And then or you're waiting for fireworks, so maybe you just don't want to hear the pop noises. That's fine and dandy too. Well, oh no, oh no. What if somebody that isn't in America is listening to this? Well, I guess I better make this brief, right? I know that in other countries they have other days similar to this, but do we have fireworks? Well, okay, sorry in advance. Well, don't worry. The problem is with my holiday podcast is that they don't seem to, like, be too much about the holiday. I don't really know why. I guess, like, when I hear the holiday bells, like, they just go all out, and it's just like, hey, happy Valentine's Day! And they all dress up, like, in those tacky heart Cupid outfits, and they wear like the stupid heart glasses and the stupid heart little antenna things. If you ever been to Party City, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's just kind of wild. And then I'm thinking, okay, so what are you doing the rest of the day? I know that for mine was actually honestly very weird, because that day, even though I technically did do a podcast, what I actually did on that day was it's actually pretty ironic, because I was discussing a short story that ended up with a guy basically enduring racism, and then the last straw seemed to be when, like, there was no coffee in a midnight diner. And then when his wife dropped the N-word, and for context, they do have the N-word pass. This was like a pretty old short story. And the ending had him basically DV. That's the most I'm going to do. And I had to discuss that, and this is probably one of the weirdest ways I've ever spent Valentine's. And sure, it was kind of weird, but hey, the time goes on. And I think also that day there was something about, oh god, and another thing, I think I was talking about Ruby Frank today. I do so much stuff that if you tell me something, you have to tell me what I did, because I've done so much stuff, and then you recap it to me, and I'll be like, oh yeah, like, yeah, I don't know why people think I'll remember everything I've said or done on here right away, and you give me, like, no context to what I'm talking about. Don't you hate when people do that? They cherry pick what you say, and then they expect you to completely read their mind. And then at the same time, they kind of sound like Farmer Fran. And then you're kind of wondering, how does anybody take these kind of people seriously? I mean, I know they're trying to get a reaction out of me. I guess this is finally their moment. But to be honest, that's boring. It's boring to constantly talk to people who seriously can't even meet you halfway, and I guess they just want to engage in, like, their own one-sided argument. Now, anybody else ever get that moment? You know, that it's like that part in Zoolander where where Derek was just so mad about the school, seeing the center for kids who can't read good, and then he didn't realize it was a model, and then The villain just pretty much goes along with it because it's just easier not to argue. That's and then like the funny thing is like some people they want to argue because they're still trying to find ways to argue, and it's like, oh my god, like I just recently went to box lunch, as you saw in like about my second shopping haul video, because I was a little curious to see what that was about. I honestly thought at first it was literally about like well, the title, like I thought they were gonna sell like cool vintage stuff, the like little box lunches and all that, kind of like similar to what FYE did. No. And then I had a few of my guy friends went later, and they were pretty average size, pretty tall, and it wasn't my imagination. And so and then so I heard this word. I already knew what the word meant, but I don't know what it is about with, because like I guess one of the things people do have and they can't control over is something called ADHD. I do have family members that have that too. So and the thing is like when they are stuck on something, they will seriously not let that go for a while. So that the way they describe the visiting that place, it was very wild, and I I don't know who's buying that stuff. I actually don't. I have never heard of a single person actually buying that stuff at all. I guess that's why it's the least popular store when I was there. But no lie, I really did find something. I really did find there is stuff to buy, but it's to everyone's preference. There was like a bunch of candy I did want, but it was I didn't want to be I don't like being that person that buys the very last thing at the store and leaves someone else with nothing. I like to think, because when I was a not adult, it would always make me very sad because I would want something and then someone else would grab it. So now in the back of my mind, like I try not to do that anymore. I guess for the not adults after me, so that they can have their moment. Anyway, another change I've done since in the past month and a half, I finally got a kick-ass laptop. How did this happen? Somebody did like a betting pool on me or something, because long story short, the previous laptop I had for the beginning of the year was very nice. I wasn't entirely sure what I was going to do with it, but then it turned out it was incapable of meeting the task I required it to do. I was entirely sure. So I had the opportunity to finally get like I finally got like a my limit has finally gone to the point where I can actually buy something I really really want. Um and I have no problems with paying it back. That's the good thing. So I took this opportunity. I went to Best Buy. I basically had to tell him a little bit of what I do. So I'm sure, like, and then yeah, I'm sure that And the weird thing is, it didn't really phase him. So I guess maybe somewhere there's other people like me that do this kind of hobby, or maybe as a career. I don't know. I'm not at that point yet, but the day I do, it wouldn't be such bad. It wouldn't be that bad. It really wouldn't. So then he recommended me a very nice PC, and I decided not to do the new box thing. Not that I need to be reminded not to do that, but then and it didn't come with a charger anyway, so that's another reason why I got it brand new. So I decided to basically do everything I wanted to do. And I was watching a bunch of videos. I was trying to think of like videos I knew for sure were like in 4K. And the first one, but it was Marcus Brownlee. And And I know for sure he had 4K. I remembered how I first got into Marcus Brownlee. I had a friend who would always buy the latest phones, the latest headphones, the latest accessories every week, and he would they were always expensive, and it and then another we were like 17 or 18 for sure. And I know that he is very passionate about this stuff. I know there's stuff that he and his best friend would often recommend and swear up and down by, which I'm gonna also describe a little later. And so after I was looking at this phone, talking about a phone, oh, I'm gonna buy it. I'm like, didn't you just buy this one? And I said, yeah. I'm like, okay, you know what? Before you do, we are going to look at a review of this thing because they existed back then. Back in, let me see, 2012, 2013 to be like mid 2013. Yeah, for sure. Like around mid 2013. Around early to mid 2013. Yeah, and if you hear a little something, I'm going to also discuss what that is a little bit later. Water is very important. So, we were looking at a bunch of reviews. Most of them were short, and then Marcus Brownlee was the first one. We both knew that it was understandable to me. I guess I'm sort of like mid when it comes to knowledge of tech, because like I'm not like a normie or anything. I know my stuff. You tell me something, I'll completely understand. But I'm not gonna tell you, oh, this is how much RAM you need and the specifications and the specs are very amazing. I mean, I'll understand that. I'll be that buddy that's like gonna be like someone to talk to. But if I had to answer any questions about tech or building PCs or wondering why the hell you need two or three monitors to make videos, I will have no fucking clue. But this Marcus Brownlee was the first one where I can process it, and then I guess you could say the hardcore tech enthusiast, I guess that's what you could describe him as. They're like, oh yeah, this is exactly, I can exactly get by this, and then I know for sure, yeah, he subscribed that day as far as I know. Maybe he still does. And I still dive into Marcus Brownlee every once in a while. So he was the first guy I thought of with 4K, and then this is the part where I say, this is the context for this one TikTok I had. And because I guess I'll give more context to it. I did not grow up with a lot of stuff. I did not have cable. I watched basically whatever was at my cousin's houses on cable, or whatever my cousins like to watch, and they were like at least 5 years older than me. Or I would be at home watching VHS, and pretty much everything was secondhand. Or whatever the home daycare felt like showing me that day. And pretty much until I was in college, I had to share a laptop. And not only did I had to share the laptop, but it was very limited. I had very limited time, and I guess since it was a weekend, that wasn't a big deal for the most part. Um, I just know I mostly just used mostly read or just used instant messenger, which for a lot of you guys that's like DMs. Yeah, instant messaging is a little different, meaning you had to get an email and add people and stuff, but DMs is like you don't really need to do that. You can just send somebody like that. And then that's like the instant messenger was the new school way of form of email. So to give context, because I know there's like people in their early 20s that are probably going to have no idea what I'm talking about. And there's a lot of ways I show my age, but then again, I guess some people would think I'm a Gen Z hipster, but I'm really just a super late previous generation with no idea how to fit in with any demographic. Look, I'm from Florida, okay, and like, you know how they say that 25% of Japan is has a senior population of over 65? That's just like here. And so after dealing with the seniors here, I it helped me learn something. You're only as young as you feel. So I do say things and that maybe sound pretty weird to like the millennials. I'm gonna describe them, but I come off like I really don't come off like one. I really don't. That might be because if I was 2 years younger, I would probably been Gen Z. I do have like the Gen Z experience, and I also got the millennial experience, and it's a little off putting because, but at the same, I can't help when I was born. That's the thing. So yeah, sorry for that trail. So the context. So yeah, so imagine like, and then most of the time when I did get my own computer, I had to use 360p resolution, and that would be so that computer the laptop would basically didn't die on me, wouldn't slow down or anything, because yeah, I don't know what it is about YouTube. It's never been that stable. I guess that's what happens when you have billions of videos up every day. But that was the only way I could really get by. So I really did take a chance and did the highest resolution. And I don't really like when people knock off the resolution because you really can't. Some people just can't help it. I mean, we want to enjoy. We enjoy videos too. So seeing that huge upgrade to like a 4K resolution, I really, that wasn't really any acting or whatever. I mean, like a lot of people, they would do that kind of thing. It's like, oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. It's like, no, I really was tearing up and all that. I couldn't say a word, and I think I was shaking a little. My mind was like super blown because I never would have thought, I would never would have imagined that. I mean, I'm like over 25. I mean, like, give you a hint about my age. I'm over 25, and I never thought I would see the day I'd be able to see like 4K resolutions. I was shocked because it felt like something that only like I would say the rich people, that's something they're so used to. All this fancy fucking equipment and this fancy fucking videos, they're used to that. I'm not, and seeing that it's really not cool, like, to knock down people for having less money. That's part of the reason I'm not really into a lot of the YouTubers. You can kind of tell some of them have been sheltered rich kids, and it's not cool to really knock down, your audience, who could be what you consider not as well off. So it's not easy, like, making that adjustment to not being well off to suddenly being fine. And there's still some habits I do. I still go to Dollar Tree. I still go to all those I guess they call them discount stores, because I get my money's worth. I don't but my dog, I spare no pennies, so I guess that balances everything out. I once said, if I'm not watching movies or playing games, I don't spend money at all. Or basically grabbing a bite. So yeah, I was genuinely like tearing up. I didn't think I could say anything. I think somewhere along the line, no. Sorry. I think if someone did find that original clip, you could hear me sniffing, and that's me, like, seriously just trying not to overreact. It's like a huge shock to you that you're so used to doing all these things just to survive. It's something you're used to, and then you suddenly don't need to do that, and then and then you see, and then these, and it's weird. You go to these nice fancy places, and you're you're so nice to the server. You give them like 25%. You say please and thank you. You say, oh, I'm sorry I have to bother you. And then all these people look at you so weird. Like, oh, how can you be this nice to a server? Well, I can't be like that. I'm not used to that. It's just weird. These people who are used to these nice fancy places, they take these things for granted, and you don't know exactly where people come from. And it's a hard adjustment. I mean, I'm trying to change. I'm getting nicer clothes. I'm going to nicer places. Um, I'm buying the food I've always wanted to try, and it's just hard because in a lot of ways, you're kind of like setting a limit for yourself and finding out you don't need to set that limit anymore without going into debt, which I haven't, which I did pay off, by the way. Don't worry. It's just a very, very hard mindset to get out of. It is. And so it's like seeing one of my dreams come true. It does not get any easier. I mean, in a lot of ways, I don't. And it's weird. Like I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh, you don't really know what I've been through. You really don't at all. And I think it kind of. I don't really want to be one of those people like, oh, those people that make their identity. Oh, I've almost died. I almost jumped into the river at the bridge and the beach. I basically strangled myself, and I don't know how I'm around, and then everyone else has died. That, I mean, can you imagine, like, being that? Can you imagine if that's all you heard all the time? I wouldn't want to make that I don't want that people to remember me for that, because it would reopen old wounds and stuff. And at the same time, I know it's like, it's been a part of me, and it's been a while, but if that's, right? Tragic past cliche, right? And the thing is, my stuff should be able to speak for itself without having people go, oh, I'm so sorry you've been through this. I'll be your fan for the poor little victim. Yeah. See, and that's something I do have to learn, in this kind of thing, because you either die helpless or you fight until they listen. And there was a lot of things. I had to learn that lesson really, really hard. Because when you're one of those people that are just going out in the middle of the night and hoping that something happens to you and that nobody can find you, yeah, your body eventually starts to rebel against you on that. And yeah, you believe it or not, like, yeah, see, I'm my own biggest bully, like, literally. But, and I do have a lot of survivor's guilt when I find out a few of my friends have not been as lucky. I just don't really know how I manage. It's like, it's a sign, right? I'm just not meant to go. I'm meant to be here, in a way. Literally. Yeah, I know. It got pretty dark, right? Yeah, that's why I need fireworks right now. Fireworks make me happy. But my point is really, like doing all this, like, I just, you know, some people, my point is like, really, you can, if you want to be happy, it's pretty challenging, I know. And I know a lot of people are gonna maybe hold everything against you, but it does get, it when it gets better, it's really like nothing else. And so, one of the things I decided to do with my lucky limit of money I decided to go to the arcade more often. I did post a lot of it. Some of it, half of the one arcade. I like the one I went to better. The one I went to is like east of where I live, and then there's another one closer to me. Sorry, that's just my feels. My feels escaping from me. Yeah, I have a bunch of pictures actually. And I guess I'll add a little. Yeah, and then I guess this is the part. The one I went to east is a lot nicer. The arcade, it was in a mall. It was very nice. I went there because there was a store I used to go to that was in my hometown, but it closed down. But then there's the same store I went to. I mentioned that, like which store I went to. I wanted to buy it for my birthday, and that was in the mall that was west of me. And so I went back a bunch of times, and then the last time I went was because um long story short, there was a sale, and there was a very nice arcade, including there's like three. One near my hometown in the theater, which kind of blows now. It was okay. They all have air hockey. All of the arcades have air hockey for some reason. So yeah, the one in my hometown was it was pretty good, okay, but it kind of I mean, it's pretty small, so I mean, what did I get, right? The one west of me, the one near me that I used to go to a lot um during the weekend, it used to really suck, but now they really step up their game, which I haven't shown on Instagram yet. So the one I went to on the arcade that was west of me is a lot nicer. The pictures I didn't do it justice. I went because I wanted to spend like a couple hours there, which I did. And there were a bunch of tickets and prizes and stuff, but I didn't care for it that much. Right. So let me see. And then there was a bakery, and man, the stuff there was really good. I want to get that cookie again. I like cookies. I love cookies. What can I say? I guess that's why my favorite Sesame Street character is Cookie Monster, because he's a mood. So I went to the one west of me. Very nice. It also, weirdly enough, that also. Okay, so the one that's west of me I'm talking about, it's in a mall, and then it has a theater and an arcade. Okay, so if anyone feels like going, and you're staying with some relatives, and if you know which one I'm talking about, I'm sure your relatives, if they live around there, they'll know which one I'm talking about. I guess if they're specific. Ha. So the one west of me, it was very big. Went there. There was a retro arcade section. It was really nice. Yeah, I was warned I shouldn't be playing The Simpsons arcade by myself. I did not listen. And next thing I knew, to my right corner of my eye, because I wore glasses, this time, there's a big smirk, and I hold up my finger. I'm like, don't you say a fucking word about being right. So yeah, that The Simpsons was not meant to be player one. That's why I can't beat the Scott Pilgrim game. I need to get some. I need to really not stop trying to play games by myself. But it was pretty fun. It was much easier than the Ninja Turtles game for sure. But I had a blast there. And then where else? Oh, man, there was a bunch of good games. A lot of them were shooters. I do like light shooter games, rail shooters, whatever you call them. It's the one where you hold the light gun games. That's what they're called, light gun games. The Walking Dead was pretty fun. But knowing me, I would get too caught up into that game. And so I tried a little bit of everything. The Halo one was weak sauce. The Jurassic shooter one is complete Nintendo hard bullshit. And where else did I go to? Oh, they were all pretty good. Didn't go to the racers because even though I might have won, it's not fun unless you got like a bunch of people playing. But I do like Crazy Taxi. Crazy Taxi's better as an arcade cabinet than it is on the console. They're both good, but arcade is like GOAT. game of the... No, GOTY. That's what I meant to say. GOTY. I guess that's what I say. Anyway, Retro Arcade, it was not disappointing. I mean, besides the Simpsons arcade and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade, there was the Marvel vs. Capcom and all this fun stuff. But I am a sucker for the pinball arcade games. It's not the same without, and I really, really, really want to beat that. All the arcade ones really, really badly, because I know it was close for a replay, and I know that I was good enough to do replays, and I'm just determined. So the other one I went to that's near me, it was stepped up their game. Pretty killer shooter games. Played Tomb Raider. It was pretty fun to play, believe it or not. But I really want to play with like 4 people. I know you don't. I know it doesn't matter as long as you're not alone. And I don't know why I was given a chance to play them alone. If we're gonna flex on that they were right again. So anyway, before I drag this on for too long, because I do tend to have I do tend to have a history of dragging on. Played some skee ball. Love it. Played some Pac-Man. Yeah, and that's pretty fun too, like old school stuff. Played let me see, there was a pretty cool one. I think it was called Area 51. The light gun shooter one, like that. And oh, I took the wrong picture, but it was like something called like Confident Mission. That was actually fun too. I remembered playing those as a kid because this place I went to a lot every Friday had an arcade cabinets, and so I would do that when I was bored. Oh, I did play because the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the one I played in the previous arcade west of me was the original one, but the one near me had the remake. So I did play the remake, and it's pretty fun. And and a miracle happened because I really did end up playing with 4 people. I ended up playing as long as I can. And I think I went through like almost half the game that way. And I decided to spare no money, and there was a lot of tickets there. So I ended up beating the Nerf arcade high score twice. I would have gotten a picture of that as proof, but I'm not one. But a bunch of kids were waiting on me, so I decided not to do that. But there is what they had at the arcade is Crossy Road. And yeah, I know, right? Funny. Ha ha ha. Why are you playing that when you can play on that app for free? Well, I did play Crossy Road a lot, all the time. And I would get over 300 steps per session. And I looked at this thing, and it said above, you get 177 tickets, you get 177 steps in one session, you get 500 tickets. I spent maybe quite a bit of money trying to get that high score, because it's a lot different from the app, for sure. It's a button thing, and it'll turn for you, and on the app, it doesn't do that. So then, it was like around 3:30, and I was gonna go watch something. And so, and piano keys. Okay, but then I get told, oh, we have so much money, and you're gonna leave with $20. Well, you can do that. You can leave with $20, but you don't know when you're coming back. So at least spend the rest of this money. So if you come back, at least you didn't let that go to waste. So before I left, right, I went to the bathroom before I decided to leave. And then I decided to play Crossy Road one more time. Straight after I went to the bathroom and I was ready to leave and I was ready to, because at that point I had all the tickets I needed to get this stuff I wanted. So I decided to play one more time just to get rid of the rest of the money, which was around $20 to $10 at that point. And I did beat that high score, and I got 500 tickets in one game. And yeah, and for once I wasn't so stubborn and I got 500 tickets out of it. And I got almost 4,000, and I got a Spider-Man that I really wanted, and I got it was like a llama, a purple llama, and a little pink kitty, and a bag of Sour Patch Kids. And I just looked at the ticket girl, and I'm like, yeah, for all this money I spent and all the time I spent playing games, this was definitely a lot, like my money's worth. I mean, especially when you remember that a lot of the stuff that's 10 tickets is like literally stuff at the dollar store. Wouldn't know that now, but man, not wanting to flex too much, but I felt pretty good. This whole theme is basically making basically making my dreams come true one way or another. It's good to have small dreams and big dreams. So, I know, I'm sorry. This thing you gotta learn when you do these podcasts, when you get into these podcasts, I have a lot of stuff on my mind and I just express myself. But, I promise, just one more point I want to make. And then I'll set you free for fireworks. So, or actually no, maybe not fireworks in case you're scared. For hot dogs or whatever you do today. Or if you're not going to celebrate it, watch something good. So, recently, I kept getting recommended all these strange accounts, and I was wondering why they were acting like they were familiar with me. And it turned out they were my cousins that and this is the part that really got to me, because out of all of my cousins, I am one of the youngest, but I'm also not the first one to try out everything. I have a cousin who's extremely extroverted and will be the first one to try social media, and I don't want to get too specific about that one, but but then there's a couple more cousins that I eventually did discover, because I don't know why it took me so long. I guess like I got too caught up in making videos and trying to finish my BA, and eventually, and then watching anime and playing games, right? Takes up a lot of time. So imagine, in my mind, I am watching all the stuff, because I'll watch pretty much anything, right? So imagine, me, I'm sure you can imagine how I felt when it turned out that a lot of the stuff that they were doing on this separate account were videos almost like mine. Now, of course, I can tell they make their own videos and stuff, but the way that it was done, I just know that they have seen my Jack Wonderland Frost videos, and they liked them enough that they decided to make videos like mine, and a lot of people ended up liking their stuff too. And of course, I'm sure they're gonna say, well, thank you, we couldn't have done it. We worked, we're so happy that we came what we could. And yeah, and this is not the first time this sort of thing happened. And I don't like to parade around that kind of Jack Wonderland Frost life I have. But this is seriously not the first time this has happened. That people have discovered the Jack Wonderland Frost things and have seen and liked stuff. It's really not. And then that's when I realized this was never going to last. This whole separation thing, right? And I'm just thinking in the back of my mind, it was I was never. It was only a matter of time. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm sure like some others would probably be thinking. Yeah, it was only a matter of time before this happened. I'm sure some people would say right now, yeah, you were just delaying the inevitable. So I guess the fact is that now that more and more people are getting familiar, I have gone to accept this whole online figure life that I do. And I like to think I have a lot of heart compared to them. And instead of fighting against it, like I previously did all this time, um, around 21 to 22 is where I know for sure I got comfortable with. But, this is the part where I'm gonna say, yeah, I guess this is it, huh? Um, I just eventually this is all going to be this is just how this is my life now, is it? But and what do I have to say? Well, as long as nobody harms my friends and family, I guess it's okay. I'm gonna be fine. So there's still a few things know I still need to do, and maybe though maybe I should apologize for the wait in advance, but uh I gotta start small before I really get to the big stuff I gotta do. Maybe my whole upcoming redemption arc that I can do. But or maybe it's like a kind of I know you're some people are thinking, "Oh, I know which story they're going to allude to." Well, yeah. The whole villain with good publicity kind of thing, and then the hero with the bad publicity thing. That's probably who I am right now. And I think the day that I can finally have my hero with bad publicity status, I think the day that everything will no longer be exploited, I think that's when I know I can make that big step that I these big steps I got to do. And I guess the reason why I know this I it seems like I'm just kind of like pumping myself, but it's also like I don't really want to I just want to show that I never meant any bad intentions. That's all. So, I never really did make a really good first impressions. So, for the most part, no, so what I've always done is just show myself completely like unapologetic, and I think it's starting to help me out now. Now that I can finally prove that the villain with the good publicity and just basically correct with facts. And it's very interesting. I think I'm starting to see some of that too. It's very interesting. People love to find out what I know. And, as long as we cool, we cool. So, anyway, So I know. Fireworks are coming up. Food is coming up. Day off relaxation is coming up. So, yeah, it's so easy, right? To make a podcast, anyone can do it, and I just did it again. So, if you haven't done this yet, pet your pet for me. Stay safe. Until I see you guys again.